Let's turn our attention to another massive story. Later this morning, two young boys are going to be brought before a judge in Auckland's West. A 13-year-old facing a murder charge. This follows the fatal stabbing, of course, of 57-year-old dairy owner Aaron Kumar yesterday morning. The fourth local homicide in just 3 weeks. Well, Waipareira Trust Chief John Tamihere joins us now in the studio. John, your initial reaction at this story yesterday morning, before we talk about the ages of the boys who are alleged to have been involved in this, your initial reaction when you heard about a shop owner being stabbed to death, was it a surprise, shock, or was it almost eye-rolling resignation?
Oh, you never have eye-rolling resignation over these things. It's always a catastrophe and a shock for any community, and particularly the Kumar whānau and West Indian Auckland Association. They're great, productive people in the community. And so no one ever takes it as a sign of just another day at the office in the West.
Yeah, I suppose what I meant by that was just, I don't know, a sigh of frustration that it's another highly violent situation, which we're almost coming to expect.
Yeah, well, that is regretful, but we shouldn't define a whole community by the actions of a few. And so we've got to be very careful with this one. Firstly, we've got to give our condolences to the families and work through their grief. And then we've got to be very focused on how we identify prevention methods.
Because something's wrong here. I mean, I'm not talking about yesterday, I'm talking about yesterday and the other 3 deaths.
Oh, well, you've got to be very careful again in connecting those. One is a domestic situation, father versus mother and daughter, very difficult situation in any family. The other is a brewing difficulty between neighbours that blew into an act of violence. And this one here is young people with very low risk tolerance factors are getting up to mischief. Could they have been identified earlier? Yes, they could have, and they were. Could there have been greater prevention? I think we need to work through that with our community.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about now. Let's talk about these two kids. I mean, obviously these are allegations. They're going to be before the courts this morning, but we're talking about a 12 and a 13-year-old. So within the community, which you know very well and you're very fond of, what is the problem here?
Oh, look, the West, 80% of all our schools are decile 5 or low. There's no doubt that it's a low-income earning community. That doesn't mean to say it's not cohesive, connected and caring about its children. You've got 5% of our community that present about 80% of our problems. We know who they are. These kids were known to the authorities and more than likely will be known to us.
But that hasn't helped, has it? So something's got to change.
Well, something has changed and we've got to get an early prevention. Look, you can't fund failure all the time once it occurs, so you can't wait for a kid to become care and protection or youth justice. There has to be early intervention triggers. For instance, babies that truant at primary school, and there's thousands of them, they don't do that for fun. There's something going on in the house, and if we can get into the house earlier, we can sort of manage this risk a bit better. So
throw money in this, get it early, get these kids early before they can get to the stage of effectively going on what these two have been accused to have done.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is that we tend to beat up on our police too much or throw them a hospital pass, and I just don't think that that's probably the right thing to do in the circumstances at the moment. So, you know, we need to work through the condolences to these families and their grief and take a far more measured approach. And chucking money at things mightn't always be the answer, but we're a strong community out there and they're a good community.
John Tamihere from Waipareira Trust, thanks for joining us this morning.